Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios and brought to you by our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Me and Molson See It Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We're here with two terrific gentlemen from the Michigan area, and they're involved in a futuristic project, which basically involves a little genie, and it's not the type of genie you want to talk about. We have one gentleman who's a writer, director, born in Pennsylvania, later moved to Detroit, began his career at an early age, creating his own Star Wars pop-up book. And of course, I think you'll find it on Amazon. He later created his own books, magazines, comics, and everything else. He later worked in Hollywood, illustrating storyboards and concept art, worked for George Lucas and Star Wars. We also have a gentleman who's a filmmaker, actor from Michigan. He's also part of this ALADDIN project as well, too. So great stories to share as well, too. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios, somewhere in Michigan. We're both connecting as well, too. Writer, director, of ALADDIN 3477, also filmmaker, actor from Michigan, also part of ALADDIN 3477. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Matt Busch and Erik Steele. Guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Good evening.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having us on.
Well, it's great to have you on board. So, Matt, first of all, let's get to you here. You're a writer, director. You're born in Pennsylvania, later moved to Detroit. You began creating and your own Star Wars pop-up book at an early age. You later did some your own books, magazines, illustrations. You did some artwork in Hollywood, especially for George Lucas for Star Wars. And of course, if anybody has not seen a Star Wars poster, that's drawn by Matt himself. You can thank him for that. And also, Erik, you're also a filmmaker, actor from Michigan, part of ALADDIN 3477. And before getting to all that, first of all, Matt, tell us how you first got started.
Oh my gosh. Well, I was just a kid with a dream, and I was always writing and drawing my own comic books as a kid. When I went to college here in Michigan, but then I moved out to Los Angeles, went out to school there, and that's where I got my start. I got my start working in films, creating concept art and doing storyboards. Simultaneously, I was working in publishing, so I was working with cool properties like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Lord of the Rings. And it was an interesting time because when I got started to work in this business, you really had to live in Los Angeles. But over time, that was kind of when the digital revolution happened. So at first, I always had to meet with the director and I would go on set and everything. And then during that 10 years, I didn't have to go on set anymore. I would just get emailed the script and I would say, hey, do you want me to come and drop these off? I'd love to see what you guys are doing. They'd say, no, just email it back in. So it got to a point where I was like, man, if I could do what I'm doing now, but live in the Metro Detroit area where cost of living is a lot lower, man, I could build my own empire and I could really, I think this is the pathway for me, the way things are going. This is the way to do it. And my career like actually got bigger than ever when I moved back home. It was just it's been awesome. It's been an incredible journey. I still have business. I still, go out to LA every now and then, but it's just been an incredible journey.
Mm-hmm. And was there one precise moment that simply influenced you into what you're doing for the rest of your career?
There is a funny story where when I was a kid, the Star Wars pop-up book came out, and it was I really loved Star Wars and I really loved pop-up books, but I ran home. I was like, Mom, you have to order this for me. And she wouldn't, because she ordered other books that I never read. And so, she wasn't going to get me this one. So I was so upset. I marched up to my room, and instead of, crying about it or holding my breath or anything like that, I pulled out the construction paper and the paste and the scissors, and I made my own Star Wars pop-up book.
Oh, wow.
So what was great is on the day that they were delivered, I didn't think I was going to get one. And I was so upset. We used to have the desks that you'd lift up, and you'd have all your supplies in there. Well, I brought my own Star Wars pop-up book. And so I had my desk open, and I was looking through my own because I could hear the kids as the teacher's passing out the books. I could hear all the other kids like, oh, Star Wars pop-up book. And I was so jealous that I was losing myself looking at my own. And then I realized the teacher was calling my name, and she's like, Matt Busch, get your buns up here. That's back when teachers could say something like that. So
and I wish
go up
they
there
still did these days.
well, I thought I was in trouble. And she's like, I've been calling you, get up here. So she hands me a Star Wars pop-up book, the real thing. And I said, there must be a mistake. She's like, no, your mom ordered this. Here's your book.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
like, oh my gosh. And it was so cool because in a weird way, at such a young age, I learned that anything that you believe, you can, it was like it manifested itself. I like put every fabric of my being into creating this. And I ended up getting my mom was so impressed with the one that I had created that she ordered it for me, but didn't tell me. So it was just such a great early on to learn that like, if you believe you can achieve kind of thing. And so I think that was the spark that there was no turning back from there.
And of course, he also worked with George Lucas. He also worked, on a number of projects as well too. Who are some of your favorite actors and also directors, producers, and filmmakers, everything like that, especially your favorite films? Who are some of your favorites growing up?
Well, my favorite director is probably Steven Spielberg. I think he's just got such a wonderful storytelling style. I think the way that I like to tell stories is not only the kind of stories that I like to tell, but the way that Steven Spielberg, he's got an efficient way of making his films where he doesn't have a lot of, he doesn't get a lot of coverage. He shoots only what he needs. He has everything planned out ahead of time. And so he's very efficient with the way he makes his films. So I'm really inspired by that. My favorite actor is Erik Steele because I've worked with him and he plays Aladdin. And wait,
I'm sorry, you're talking about that guy up there, or are we talking about somebody else or doppelganger?
Honestly, Erik is a dream to work with, and he's so creative. And because he's also a filmmaker, he understands everything that goes behind the scenes of making films. So it was just a dream to work with him. He didn't have any ego going into this. And to have that kind of person as your lead, who you're working with the most, we spent 5 years just filming, because we actually filmed 3 movies and the first film is coming out this year. But it was 5 years of filming, and never, not that we had drama with other actors, but never any drama. He was just a pro the whole way through, and he's such a great friend anyway. But I gotta say, my favorite actor, Erik Steele. I'm doubling down.
Well, speaking of Erik Steele, we got him as not just an actor, but also a filmmaker from Michigan as well too. And Erik, tell us how you first got started.
So as a young child, I was fascinated with just cameras in general. And our family had this old camera that you had to hook up to a VCR and record to the old school tapes.
I remember that, yes.
And I got in trouble with making some of my own little skits with my brother and sister at a very young age, where the family took the camera away. I wasn't responsible enough to use it because, this was pre the era of Jackass, if you don't mind my speaking. And I was pretty much on that path with the family camera, so they took it away.
You have to tell them why. Why did they take it away?
It was very innocent. It was just me as a 9-year-old mooning the camera and showing it to the family, and they're like, "Okay, your camera privileges are revoked." Flash forward till middle school, and now new technology comes out. Now they're on little DV tapes. I'm thinking this is magical and great, and I taught myself how to do stop motion animation. I loved Gumby, Wallace and Gromit. And so just like Matt, I made my own Empire Strikes Back out of clay characters, where my friends were the claymation characters of Han Solo, Boba Fett, and Lando. And it was a condensed version of The Empire Strikes Back in 15 minutes, but it took me the entire winter break to film this. And I don't know how it actually got to the school, but they ended up showing it at the middle school over all the TVs on the last day.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's the biggest viewing I've ever had in my entire life. In middle school, people are watching the thing that I spent so much time working on, that I think that just hit this wave over me of oh wow, and some people loved it, some people hated it. But when I went into high school, a few people remembered me as the guy who made Star Wars out of little clay characters. And it just spiraled from there, just continuously making my own things, teaching myself different techniques until I finally got my big break working on the feature films here in Michigan when the film incentives were around. And I was lucky enough to get on a couple feature films here, which then went to TV shows, which then went to commercials. And so basically I'm jumping around on whatever job I can get experience on. And I've been doing that for the last 14 years now, I think.
Wow, 14. Okay. Now you talk about the film incentives in Michigan as well, too. They're talking about film incentives, like California, New York, and of course, Georgia's been the big thing, and Texas for a little bit too. And what were some of the incentives that you had in Michigan that basically just stood out or compared to all the other states? What was like the real incentives for people to come out to Michigan?
It was the percentage of how much you spent and how much you'd get a tax write-off from it. I don't remember the exact number anymore. It's been over like 7 years now, but
oh wow.
It was a hefty, I want to say 20 something percent, but don't quote me on that. But there was a certain amount of money you'd get a tax write-off for if you shot in Michigan. The only issue that we ran into was a lot of productions, they would bring in their main crew. So a lot of the films only got, to production assistant or media management or a few other like background extras or secondary cast. So we kind of got the bottom of the barrel of that deal, but they didn't let it truly build up and like create a foundation. So when they cut it so shortly, it did enough for me, and I'm grateful for it, but I wish it would have stuck around much longer.
Mm-hmm. You also worked with some filmmakers as well too, be involved in the Michigan film industry. Who are some of your favorite filmmakers, actors, and of course, movies and everything like that growing up?
Growing up?
Yes.
I mean, I was really mesmerized by the Matrix films by the Wachowskis, and that was just kind of like a game changer, just realizing that, they just invented this whole new effect, and it just, got my brain thinking of like, well, what can I do? And I still haven't figured it out yet of my breakout thing that I'm going to bring to the table. But, hopefully I'll keep working on finding my style and, fine tuning it, or maybe never fine tuning it, but, always working towards trying to get it that way.
Mm-hmm. And certainly Adidas as well too. And of course, you guys coming together with ALADDIN 3477. We'll talk about that. But first, you listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios. Visit online at SoundCloudStudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget, Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international Wolverine author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia. Available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has got great reviews. And Eve 11 is voiced by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassie, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for it goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com and over 40 podcast platforms. Heard in 100 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Apple Music. Also heard on Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. Also, you can subscribe on YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Make sure you take us with you on any mobile device, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, for some great gift ideas, check out Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com, check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Also t-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Check it out today. I'll support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Make sure you do so today. We're here with 2 terrific gentlemen for the ALADDIN 3477 project on Mike Wagner Show. filmmakers Erik Steele and Matt Busch as well, too, out of Michigan. And before we talk about the project, Matt, you also worked on Con Air, The Matrix as well, too. And, kind of go back to the beginnings a bit and tell us a bit about that. And if you have some other big name project you worked on, and just tell us a bit about that.
Gosh. So yeah, in the 90s, I basically said yes to every job that I could work on because I didn't want to be the starving artist, the statistic that everyone always hears about when they go to art school, where they tell their family they're going to go to art school. My family was very supportive, by the way, but so I got to work on films like Con Air and The Matrix, but I also worked on so many television commercials and storyboarded like Kibbles and Bits and all of that. The Matrix was one of the films, probably one of the biggest films that I worked on behind the scenes doing storyboards and concept art. What was interesting about that, though, is that at the time, I didn't know that was going to be, I didn't think it was going to be a good movie at all. I thought it was going to be awful because I had read the script. And you have to understand, when you haven't seen the film and you haven't seen how cool the special effects are, and you're not really following the pacing of the story, when you read the script alone, I thought it was the silliest thing I had ever read. And I think I was also jaded because my agent at the time, when he put me on the project, my agent said, this is going to be the next Star Wars for the next generation. And I was like, no way. So they said, okay, well, you're going to read the script over the weekend. You start next week. So I read the script, and 5 pages in, I was like, where's the cute, lovable robots? Where's the, where's the maniacal villain that breathes funny? And it was just, it was just so silly. I didn't get it. And what was interesting is at the time, Tom Cruise was attached to star. And even though I didn't think the story was good, Tom Cruise always brings his A game. So I was like, well, at least there's that, So anyway, I had worked on it for about 2 weeks, and then the project got canceled because Tom Cruise left to go film a movie called Eyes Wide Shut with Stanley Kubrick.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, well, thank goodness, because this movie is, would have been awful anyway. So a few months later, my agent called back and said, hey, The Matrix is back on, but now they've got Keanu Reeves. And at the time, Keanu Reeves was still kind of, the Bill and Ted's, just kind of the whoa dude, he wasn't really.
Whoa dude. I remember that. Yes.
He wasn't really the powerhouse that he is now. So, and there was another movie that came out called Johnny Mnemonic, which was a sci-fi movie that he was in, and that it didn't do very well. And I saw that, I didn't think it was good. So I was like, man, now this movie's really going to be bad. Like, no, oh my gosh, it's going to be awful. So I said, can you give me a day to think about it? Because it was going to be 9 months worth of work. And I didn't know that I wanted to be stuck working on, at this point, Star Wars is getting big, and I had all these other opportunities. So I said, give me a day to think about it. So that afternoon, another agent called and said, listen, we've got a movie we want you to work on. It's called The Devil's Own. And I said, oh, interesting. Tell me more about it. And they said, well, it stars Harrison Ford and Brad Pitt. So I was like, say no more. That sounds amazing. I'm in. So true story. I actually left The Matrix to work on this awful movie called The Devil's Own, even though it has Harrison Ford and Brad Pitt. I don't know if you've seen that movie. It's terrible. And I don't know if you've seen a movie called The Matrix. It's amazing.
It is. Yes. 1 and 2 and parts of 3, The Devil's Own. I'm glad you remind me not to watch it. Maybe if it's on those Tubi TV, free TV, whatever it is, thanks for the reminder on that one.
Yeah. Well, it was a great learning experience for me, though, because it really taught me, whenever you're working on something, especially if it's something you're going to put your name on, whatever you're getting hired for, whether you're getting hired to illustrate a television commercial for toilet paper or something you're not excited about, that's your job as a creative. Try to find the beauty in it. And I remember for the short time that I was working on The Matrix, I remember all the other artists that I was working with, they were all excited about it. And I was like, you guys read the script, right? And they were like, yeah, it's cool, right? And I was like, man, what did you guys read? Because I just thought it was ridiculous. But the problem was I was reading it like this. I was so upset that it didn't have robots and it didn't have a maniacal villain that breathed funny in it or anything. So I didn't want to like it. And I think anytime you go into a project, if it isn't cool, that's your job. What can you do to make it cool? What can you do to turn that ship around? So it was a good learning experience for me.
And certainly it was. And Erik, didn't you wish you worked on The Matrix or something similar?
I wish I could have. I think, I had The Matrix in every format that was available at the time. I don't know if it was VHS, but I did have like the DVD and all that kind of jazz. And I was obsessed with it for a while. Yeah, wish I could have.
And then of course you guys came in a very interesting way with ALADDIN 3477. And how'd you guys first meet?
So actually, really interesting thing about that was Matt was my instructor at my first years of college, and I was amazed at the fact that not only was taking an illustration class, a storyboarding class, but he was working on movies back then, and I think it was Conjure, and I just remember hearing about this teacher is making these films, and I wanted to know what it is that he's doing. And I'm learning about the process through him. And I think we went to it wasn't a screening, but he used to throw these parties in downtown Mount Clemens, and I'd go to them, and he had this larger than life personality of just, he was just like a rock star. So of course I flocked to him and just wanted to see what was up anytime he had an event. And shortly became friends, and he asked me to be a part of ALADDIN, and I truly thought he wanted me behind the scenes, helping out. And when he asked me to be ALADDIN, I was kind of just taken aback, you want me to act? It's oh, okay. And because I love all aspects of the filmmaking process, I was like, that could be amazing. So I just jumped at the chance.
That's rather interesting as well, too. And how'd you guys first come up with the concept of ALADDIN 3477? What was the whole genesis behind it?
Oh, that's Matt.
So, I had back when I was in college, I was very inspired by George Lucas and how he created Star Wars and all the trials and tribulations he went through to make that, especially that first film. And so I wanted to make my own sci-fi saga. And so I wrote my own story. And I realized I started illustrating it as a comic book. And it was something when I lived in Hollywood that I wanted to pitch, and I wanted it to be the next big thing. But I realized shortly into it that my story that I was coming up with was very similar to ALADDIN.
Yeah,
there
like
wasn't a
Arabian
genie.
Nights and all that, or some people still say the ALADDIN version of Disney and such.
Yeah. Well, it kind of had a con artist, and instead of a monkey sidekick, it had a robot that kind of floated by the con artist's shoulder, and there was a princess, but there wasn't a genie, and there wasn't a lamp or anything like that. But I don't know if other people would have seen it, but I knew in my mind it was so much like ALADDIN. Over the years, I realized that ALADDIN is public domain, so anyone can make an ALADDIN movie. So it wasn't an overnight thing, that's what I'll do. But the more I thought about it, the more it became interesting. Man, what if I did combine my story with the ALADDIN tale? It would be ALADDIN, but set 1,500 years in the future. And so I just needed to have everything in place. And one of the things that I needed was the perfect ALADDIN. And so when I first started teaching, I was a young buck myself, but Erik was one of my first students, and he was making his own film projects. And there was something about Erik where he was electric behind the camera with the fun projects he was making, but also his acting. There was something about him that he just lit up the screen, and I kind of lost touch with him for a number of years. I actually saw him years later doing stand-up comedy. There was an open mic night thing, and I ran into Erik, and he was so good. He was so funny, but he had these sensibilities, not just for stand-up comedy, but I could tell he had such kind of a physical presence, and he had this kind of boyish charm that I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to work. He's like a star waiting to happen. He's so good. And we just kind of hit it off. We kind of became friends, and I wasn't ready to kind of to do that project just yet, but I knew as soon as I was ready to pull the trigger, I knew it was going to be Erik.
That is rather interesting. And of course, how do you feel about the Aladdin 3477? Some of your thoughts, Erik?
How did I hear about it?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I heard it directly from Matt, and that's when the audition process happened, and we went through. I read through the entire script. Talked about it with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and we rehearse lines, and we go through the whole thing, and there's some parts that I was like really excited to take on, and there were some parts that I was like, oh, this is going to be a rough day. and I was right. With certain slime being involved, or having to hang from something, and it was all in my mind. And basically, once I got to set, Matt had storyboarded out every single frame that was going to be shot, so it was so easy to see what the day was going to be like, because I also love comic books, and in college, me and my buddy created a comic book club. But here I am, like, reading through the script and then looking at the pages, and then instantly, kind of the opposite of what Matt was saying about Matrix, where I could see exactly what Matt's vision was. So it made it easy to basically just replicate that on screen as best I could.
And of course, with the whole Aladdin story as well, too, that you don't have a genie, a monkey, or anything like that, or having robots and everything. What are some of the slight differences in Aladdin 3477 that people see compared to the traditional Aladdin story, even when it was written like, God, what, 20s, 30s, and 40s or something?
Right. Well, the big thing is there's no genie, because in Matt's world, genie is a very derogatory term. The proper word is jinn, the jinn of wisdom. So there is
jinn of wisdom. Okay, got
yes.
it. All right.
But yeah, also it's an ensemble cast. So yes, you do have Aladdin, but then you have Aladdin's kind of entourage of other characters who will be in the film as well. So each of them also have their own adventures that all come together. So that's kind of unique too. It's not a one-man show for sure.
And that's certainly interesting as well, too. And a bit more about Aladdin 3477 with Matt Busch and Erik Steele. We'll get to that in just 1 minute. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios, and brought to you by official sponsor, the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's The Missing. We'll be back with Matt Busch and Erik Steele of Aladdin 3477 after this time. We're back with the amazing duo of writer-director Matt Busch and filmmaker and actor Erik Steele, both of Michigan, with Aladdin 3477 on the Mike Wagner Show. And you guys started this project a while back. You guys had a GoFundMe. So, is there, how can people help with the campaign, and give us an update on where Aladdin 3477 stands? And, once the project is finished, let us know when that's going to end, and where can we watch it?
Awesome. So we it's TBD on when and where you'll be able to see it, because we haven't locked in a distributor yet, but we had a Kickstarter that was successfully funded over 6 times over the amount that we were asking for, and it's just been awesome. There's really cool swag boxes that people are going to get, including books and toys and the Blu-ray. And there's actually a backer kit that is going to open in just a couple days, where anyone will be able to go in and get a lot of these cool items, stickers, t-shirts, all kinds of fun things. And it's real exciting. This is the year. I know it's 2023, but this is the year of 3477.
You got about 1,000 years remaining, so you guys all do the math. And then how can people help? Where can people donate, and where can get more information? What's the website?
You can go to aladdin3477.com to get more information. Also, you can go to Backer Kit and look up Aladdin 3477, or you can go to Kickstarter which has all the links, and look up Aladdin 3477 there. Really, you can just Google it. You'll find us on YouTube. You'll find us on Instagram, Twitter. We're everywhere, moving forward.
We will certainly check that out. Once again, we're with Erik Steele and Matt Busch of 113477 here on the Mike Wagner Show. Just a few more minutes, guys. What can we expect from both of you in 2023 and beyond?
I believe I might have 1 or 2 feature films that I'm going to be working on as crew this time. This time I'll be behind the camera. I don't have the exact names of those films, and a lot of times the names change once they're done. But also just freelance work out of my studio based out of downtown Utica.
Okay. And then how about you, Matt? What can you expect from you in 2023 and beyond?
I do have a couple Star Wars projects on the horizon. Again, things I can't say what it is until it's been announced, you know. I can't say what it is, but definitely Aladdin 3477. The film, in 2 months, or maybe about a month and a half, the official collector's edition souvenir book comes out. The toys come out this fall. The Fiji designer toys. The hardcover art book comes out towards the end of the year, as well as the Blu-ray. And hopefully there will be a film festival run, and it's all very exciting. This is the year for Aladdin in the future.
And make sure you save up your money, kids, so the parents can buy you somewhere, can buy yourselves. So make sure you save up, guys. So Christmas is like months away. So save all that. And who do you consider biggest influences in your careers?
I will say Matt, absolutely 100%, because I didn't know you could just start making your own movies, and that really inspired me to do what I'm doing. And of course, him teaching the storyboarding classes has helped me immensely through my career.
Okay. And Matt, how about you?
You know, I think a big influence that people will see when they see the Aladdin films is these Aladdin films are a lot grittier. They're a lot more, they're relatively family friendly, but Sam Raimi is a really big influence. And one of the reasons why is because in the Evil Dead trilogy, Sam Raimi is also from Michigan, by the way, but he puts the main character, Ash, through so much, where he is just dragged through the mud and covered in slime, and just everything is always so crazy. And these Aladdin films, there's no singing, there's no dancing per se, but they are high octane action. And we put Erik through so much, where he's covered in slime, he's dragged through the mud, he does all his own stunts. Some of the things that he does are unbelievable. And that was also another reason why I was so excited to work with him, because I knew anything we asked Erik if he would do, I knew he wasn't going to say no. So anytime you see him get slapped across the face, it's not like forced perspective. He is really getting whacked. He was in it to win it. And if you're into high action, just a roller coaster of a trilogy of movies, that's what these are. So Sam Raimi, I think, is kind of an unspoken influence I think people will pick up on.
And I remember Sam Raimi too, Spider-Man as well too. Terrific director, I can say that. And what's the best advice you guys can give anybody at this point?
I guess I would say no matter if you want to make something, just the best way to learn is to start trying to do it, and then you'll figure out where your weak points are, and that's when you should ask for help, or get other people involved, because a big thing about filmmaking is it is not a solo sport. It is a group effort for sure.
And then Matt, how about you? What's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Mine is very simple, and that is don't quit. There's only one difference between people that are doing what they want to do and then people who had a dream but ended up kind of doing something else, and that is those people quit. If you it's never an overnight thing, but if you stay with it, if you put all your eggs into the basket that you want, eventually, whether through the butterfly effect or through skill and talent and just, sheer determination, sooner or later, it's got to work out. But as soon as you quit, that's when for sure things are not going to go your way. So keep at it, stay persistent, and don't give up.
I think those are very good points indeed as well. We're here with Erik Steele and Matt Busch of ALADDIN 3477 here on the Mike Wagner Show. Guys, a very big thank you for your time. You've been both terrific. Learned a lot. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you both back. And once again, what's the website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your works?
For me, it is th3studio.com. And for ALADDIN, of course, it's ALADDIN3477.com.
And Matt?
MattBusch.com, MattBusch.com has everything that I've got cooking.
All right, sounds good. We'll check them both out. Once again, guys, a very big thank you for your time. You've been both fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. Wish you all the best. And guys, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike.